Well, it's good. Your bio is important.
All right, I was a little surprised, so I had to, I'm taping all of my lectures on Google Hangout on Air, which is a nice thing if you guys are trying to develop a YouTube channel for your practices. It's an easy thing, you put your laptop right there and it records it and then it sends it immediately to YouTube. So I do that for all of my lectures, I was just doing that. But anyway, this is perhaps the most famous aesthetic pearl in the world, or throughout the centuries. I thought that might get you to remember some of my aesthetic pearls. Get started. Where do I push the pointer toward here? Okay, so I have no disclosures again with respect to this talk. I generally don't. I don't like to speak on for companies for which I do business with or consult for. Okay, this is a part of a talk that I'm giving soon in Las Vegas about body shaping of the future, and particularly in Miami, body shaping is a particularly important topic as we tend to wear less clothing than the rest of the country, and women are very concerned with areas that you wouldn't otherwise think. So this picture, I just wanted to show you the concept of the cankle. Can you raise your hand if you even know what that is? Okay, most of you do. Most women know what that is. Can you raise your hand, guys, if you know what that is? Okay, so not as many men in the audience. What that is basically when your calf goes into your ankle and forms one entity, so you don't have a nice definition of your ankle. And when you're wearing strappy high heel shoes and things like that, women don't like to have cankles. That's an unattractive thing. And it's always been kind of a hard thing to treat. And people come to me always asking, what can you do for these? What can you do for these? And it's until one of my really good friends was telling me, she's had cankles all her life, and she's not overweight or anything like that, but she's always had this problem with her legs. And she never saw really leg veins that you could, spider veins that you could see or that I could specifically treat. She might have had some, posterior fossa, leg veins that were blue, and I never even thought to send her to the vascular surgeon, but she started wearing these particular compression stockings called CPP compression. They're only available online, and she said it changed her life. She wears them under her stockings, she wears them all the time, and so what that told me is that her cankles were really caused by a venous reflux issue, which was not even visible on the skin. So if you do have patients who come to you with a cankle issue, think leg veins. Send them to the vascular surgeon. You'll be doing them a real favor. They'll think you're a genius, and then they'll come to you for other things. Maybe they need endovenous ablation or foam therapy or stripping or whatever it is. I think now it's endovenous foam ablation. But if you fix their cankles or refer them to the doctor that does, they'll think you did them a favor. And not a lot of people think of it. Okay, so this is kind of my latest thinking in the practice. Also, is that a lot of times, if we're not doing surgery, we've sort of gotten brainwashed by a lot of the pharmaceutical companies and our conferences in general, and sort of what was the gold standard about 5 years ago, that you just throw filler at everything. If someone's sagging, just put more filler, more filler, more filler, more filler. And what that ends up is looking like is how Madonna looks on the left there. She's overly filled, but doesn't look particularly good. She just looks kind of wide-faced and, overly filled. It makes her eyes look smaller. So the more modern way that I look at lifting now is you do filler for the people who need filler, who have actual volume loss and actual, redraping of the malar fat pad. But after that, if you if you feel like you've done filler and that's good, and they're still sagging, you need to think of other things. You need to think of the lifting and tightening lasers, mainly radio frequency and high frequency ultrasound. I know Madonna's doctors, and I know why she looks different. The first picture was early 2014, early last year, and this picture was the picture on the right is the Met Gala from this year. And really the only difference is that she stopped getting so much filler, and now she's getting more radio frequency and Altera. So that's something to think about. If you maxed out on filler and Botox, The answer isn't to add more filler and Botox, but to think of more and modern and unusual and laser design ways to lift the face if they're not going to do surgery. Okay, this is another one. Whenever someone gets engaged on Facebook, this is their picture. So my friends and I always laugh, I never realized her hands were that old. You don't realize it until something important, and someone puts the picture up on Facebook. And a lot of brides are older these days than they used to be, and it is more important than ever that their hands look young. Just as a quick question, how old do you think this bride, this engaged girl is?
40.
She's 32. Yeah, her hands look old. And when you look at it, what is it? We're being trained to think it's the Roby hand veins. I've had prominent Roby hand veins since I was 5 years old. I mean, that's how my hands are. That's not what's aging my hands. And even though I'm dark skinned, but even light skinned people, I don't think it's necessarily the Roby veins. Is it the fact that it's thin and the hands the Roby veins are showing? I don't necessarily think it's that either. Again, I've had thin hands, but a lot of people have thin hands. That's not really the issue. What I think is the issue is that the skin gets lax on the hand. And that's the issue. It's obviously, we've always talked about brown spots. We've always talked about, different sort of discoloration and photo damage things. Those are easy to treat. But what I really think and what I've done this year that's really helped my hand rejuvenation patients is this. That's the before, and on top and below is the after. Is I've done radio frequency tightening of the actual skin of the hand. And to me, that has done more and helped more patients and helped them feel like their hands truly look better. And again, now this is more in the age group of the 30s, 40s, and early 50s. Once they're older than that, I don't know how much radio frequency. I've done some older ladies, and they've been happy, but it hasn't been really good results like this. And here, what you need to do is focus on the areas where the skin is loose, namely the knuckles and the dorsal wrist. If you focus on that and do more passes on that area with the radio frequency machine, it doesn't matter which one you have, you will definitely get better looking, thinner hands. I don't necessarily agree that every hand needs to be sclerotherapy or filled. That's it. All right, thank you. I'm a quick talker. Sure, I have the Viora, which is kind of an older machine. It's from a company in Israel. And, I bought it from a plastic surgeon in town who was retiring. I love it. It has no consumables. It's very easy to use. It's usable on all skin types, and it delivers great results. You don't have to charge a whole lot for it, and people are super happy. I'm doing it on all body areas, and I have great pictures to show you of drooping on the thighs, the anterior thighs. It works fairly well for cellulite. Elbows, knees.
How many treatments?
That was 2 sessions, spaced 2 months apart. She was very happy. Thank you. Oh, another question, sorry.
Do you ever combine like the lasers, like the pico microarray? I do that with the pigment, just for some of the texture and then my ray see happening.
Yes, so you sort of have to figure out what the patient needs. Like my before and after lady didn't have any brown spots, so she didn't need it, so I didn't do it. Absolutely. So all I'm doing here is literally skin tightening. But it's the concept that I hadn't really occurred to me, like what is it that ages hands? And it's the pigmentation and the texture, but we've known that. We've known that for more than 5 years. What I think is sort of the newer thinking is the fact that it's really this sort of laxity that starts happening at the knuckles and the dorsal wrist and then spreads to the entire dorsal hand as we age. That's really what was bothering people. For the hand, I like PLLA. I like radius. I don't really do a lot of HA on the hands, and I don't really do that much filler on the hands anymore. I did that a lot in the past, and I'm doing much more of this, and as you said, the NDYAG or IPL. Thank you. Oh wait, another question, sorry. I tried a lot of Fraxel, both erbium and fractional CO2, and probably last year, because I didn't have this via the radio frequency until this year. It helped. It required a lot more treatments. It did help the texture, but it didn't do the tightening that I would like. And I feel like that's the real issue for most of these women. So I definitely achieved a lot more with a lot fewer treatments with tightening, with tissue tightening. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, and for those of you all who have just noticed the switch, I'm not Dr. Weigel. I'm Brooke Jackson, and I'm going to be moderating the rest of the session. So next up is Dr. Heidi Waldorf.